We have an arrow pointing to the center of the room, and we can kind of move around. The background kind of works, but not nearly as much as I want it to. What's up, everybody? Axe Wizard here, back with some more video game shenanigans. When we last left off, I was basically generating a bunch of AI art, and I was bringing those assets into GameMaker here. So I've done that. Over here in this list, I've got a generated folder, and I made some various backgrounds that we can use. I even made like a planet that I can use that looks pretty cool. I made a few different projectiles, like I made like a rocket and stuff that looks like a blurred out thing. It's not great, but it looks better when it's like, you know, shrunk down and on the screen. So, and I brought in a few different ships. So here's like the one I was playing with last time. Here's another ship. Here is like a small little shuttle kind of ship. Here's another sort of another cool ship, and then I also brought in this thing, which is like another ship. I don't know, super cool. Anyway, I generated a bunch of cool art, and I also got weapons and stuff figured out too. So rather than just showing you these random sprites, if we hit play on this game, you can see I've thrown these assets together here, and obviously my ship, the weapon placement of my ship is still matching the old big sprite that I drew. The placeholder ship 2, wait no, placeholder big ship. They're still matching this one. So I haven't updated those yet, so that's something that we could tackle if we wanted to, but I don't think that's really trivial. The shield, I'm not happy with how the shield looks. I've been struggling trying to get the shield to look how I want. So I don't know. I could work on that, but I think I'm going to sleep on that for right now because I've been doing kind of research in my off time. I think what I kind of want to do is I might want to do like an oval mask around the ship, and then just have like a ripple effect play that only shows within that oval. And I'm not sure how to accomplish that at this point, so I'm going to hold off on that for now. The thing that I want to accomplish in this episode is that I really want to be able to make the camera follow the ship, and then get the background working to make it so that it looks like I'm flying around in space. So if we just bring up paint, I kind of want to draw out what I'm thinking here. So like, say this is our screen, right? Well, what I want to have is, because right now basically like my background takes up like this, and it's just kind of stretched the rest of the way and it looks really weird. What I actually want to have happen is I want to have like a background that sort of extends like out here. So it's like it extends beyond the borders of the room, and then your view will just follow. I'll just use this. We'll just follow the ship in the very center. And then what happens is, like, as I'm moving, I also want to like move the background slowly. So what's going to happen is, like, as my ship is moving, the view is going to move with it, but with the background's going to go by a lot slower than I'm moving. So I want to find a way to accomplish that. And since it's going to be tied to player movement, that's going to be fun to figure out. So that's going to be fun. And then I also want to have like multiple layers of it too. So I also want to have like another layer that, you know, might be slightly bigger, that moves a little faster to create that parallax effect I was talking about. So That's going to be the thing to figure out today. So that's going to be fun. So let's see about how we do that. So if we pop open the help manual, an update for the current manual. No, I haven't updated GameMaker to the latest version, so I'm still on the latest version of the game manual or the help manual for the version I'm using. So I don't need to update it right now. I might update it later. So if we look at, let's just look at cameras. Okay. The window is where GameMaker displays your game, and depending on the target device, there are different things that can be done with it, like set to full screen or not, for example. Cameras and viewports, however, govern what you see within that window, and so have another series of functions dedicated to them. The following two sections deal with these two aspects of displaying our game. So we already have the game window. I'm not going to mess with that too much. I'm going to mess with cameras and viewports. So let's see. So when creating rooms in GameMaker, you need to set up different viewports and or cameras to control what is displayed to the player. The viewports are basically little windows in your game world that enable you to show the player parts of a room, either scaled or one-to-one. And as such, they are essential when your game room is larger than the display size, which is what I'm going to have. The cameras are what define exactly what will be shown in each port. Okay. GameMaker permits you 8 independent viewports, unlimited number of cameras, of which only 8 can be active at a time. I don't think we're going to need that many. Holy cow. Probably going to need 1, maybe 2 if I'm going to do a mini map. So that all makes sense. So we can create a camera. Interesting. So I'm not sure how I want to accomplish this, because if we go back to Paint, so this might be the size of my room, and you know, maybe there might be like a planet here or like another planet here, like in the little solar system, and you know, there could be some ships and stuff flying around. I don't know. That's an awful ship, but whatever. You get the point. There could be ships and stuff flying around, but I also want to be able to make it so that you can fly outside the bounds of the room, and it still looks like you're in space. So like the background and stuff is still kind of slightly moving, even though you're not really going to be able to interact with any planets or anything because you're not anywhere near them. But you could still run outside in space and fight, because that was something that the EV Nova did, is you could just keep going in a direction and keep going, keep going into nothingness, but the background and stuff still moved, and there was like a little arrow that was sort of you know, say if your ship was out here, there'd be like a little arrow that would point you back to the center of the room if you're beyond the bounds of it. So yeah, I also think I want to make like the level more square, and then the view inside that room. So we have a square room here, right? Let's just get rid of all this stuff over here. Get rid of that. Paste this back over here. So we'll have like our planet and stuff, maybe a moon or something here, maybe like a little space station or something over here, like stuff that's inside the zone. And then maybe your view is actually only, you know, say like if your ship is right here, your view might be like right here, which is fine. So we'll have a big room where we can move around, but I also need to make sure I can move beyond the edge of the room to sort of simulate endless space. So that's going to be interesting. I'm not sure how I want to handle that. So let's just get a camera working. So let's just tackle this one thing at a time. So let's see, if we go to our room, and we go to, we scoot this up here, you can see down here, I've got room settings, and there's also viewports and cameras. So I could enable a viewport, and I can enable one, like viewport 0, right? So I've already got a viewport created. So let's see where this is going to go. So the width, I mean, let's just for testing, let's do 1280 by 720 for right now. So if you look here in the room, you can see that my viewport isn't as big as the room. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to make the room settings. I'm going to make this 2048 by 2048. There we go. So now you see we have a much larger room. I don't really want to go bigger than 2048 because then it really puts more strain on your resources. And depending on like how big your room gets, you're also going to want to start determining like what needs to be drawn on the screen, because by default, like GameMaker is going to be drawing these ships here, even though they're not on screen. There's ways to like deactivate instances that are outside your viewport, but then, like, say for example, if you're having long range combat, you just see missiles coming at you and you start shooting in that direction to hit whatever's shooting you, you wouldn't be able to see this person. And if you deactivate the instance outside of it, they wouldn't be able to shoot missiles at you. So that kind of kills the immersion there. So I don't want to do that. Okay, let's just stick to one thing at a time. I'm starting to get lost in details, and when that happens, you just kind of get option paralysis. So you just got to pick with something, try it, and then iterate and refine on it. And sometimes, like with shields, that might end up I have to redo it like 6 or 7 times. But hey, whatever. So we got enable viewports, and with the viewport, oh, this is so a viewport. Oh, nice. So this gives us a camera as well, and I'm going to set the camera and the viewport to be the same. So the difference between like the camera and the viewport is that, say if my camera is like right here and it's only capturing like this little chunk of the room, but say my viewport is actually like this size, or my viewport actually is like twice as big, so it's like zoomed in twice as much, that could change how things look. So, but the cool thing is that directly from my room, I can set this to be following an object. So I can do object player. So let's just test this real quick to see how this looks. Okay, now if I go this way, the viewport should shift. Perfect. So we have a start. So by default, it's only following my ship if I get to the border of it and I start kind of like pushing it away. So what we need to do is we need to set this horizontal border here and the vertical border. Let me look up how I want to handle that. So if we do view camera, so we got view target. So that's basically just, instead of setting it in the room, I can set it in code if I create my own cameras manually. So we're already setting a target, and then what did they call it? They called it horizontal border and vertical border. So if we go here to set view border X and Y, which X is horizontal, Y is vertical, this function can be used to retrieve the border value for object or instance following of a given camera along the X-axis. The return value will be in pixels. So what I think that we'll do here for this is that, So this is saying, like, if I get within 32 pixels of the border, like the X origin of my sprite, it will push it. So I think what I want to do is to just basically have the dimensions. So like right here in the center is where my sprite is. So you see I'm getting about 32 pixels, and then it's moving it. But it's kind of like, it's kind of bumping me around. And I don't like how that looks. And then once you get to the end of the room, it just stops. So that's a problem. So let's see. So we're doing 1280 by 720. So what's 1280 halved? Is that what, 640? So we'll do 640 for the horizontal, and then 720 divided by a halved is like what, 3? I can't think. Good thing I don't have to. 720 divided by 2, 360. Should have known that. Whatever. So if we save this, now it should be following our ship wherever we go. This looks a little better, but we're still going to run into that same issue to where when we get to the edge of a room, it's gonna just stop. And that's not what we want to have happen. So, I'm not sure what to do about that. GMS2, how to have camera extend beyond room borders. Okay, so the problem is you're following it in views, which limits it to the border. So we'll probably have to do some actual code to make this happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this to none. I'm going to revert this back to how it was. And what I think we'll do is we'll do some code to make it follow our ship instead. So camera control stuffs. So let's see. So we needed to make a camera. Actually, no, we don't, because we already have one. We already have some that are defined for us, so I think that we can use those. But maybe we should make our own. That way we have full control over it. That way it's not maybe being dictated by how the room is using it. So if we go to camera create, no view or projection settings defined. Okay. That's interesting. I don't know if I want to make a new one. I don't quite understand what all this code does, and I don't really want to look into it right now because I'm kind of lazy and I don't have much time. So let's see. So we already have a camera. Let's just play with that. So cameras and viewports. Come on, go back. So we camera set. So let's just do camera set view target. Camera set view. Actually, you know what? No. That's just recreating what we already tried before. Let's throw a to-do on here. And then in my step event, what I want to do is after we determine like our movement and stuff, so we might do this in the end step event where we're updating all of our positions. Update camera position as well. And what we can do is that, so by default, when we're working with the camera, so say for example, here is our camera. I think if we're setting X and Y, it's at the top left. It's not centered, but we want it to be centered on our ship. So what I think we have to do is I think we have to basically take the width and the height and basically, you know, divide those by 2. And then we want to add those to our ship coordinate. Or maybe we want to subtract it, because again, in GameMaker, if you're going to the left, that's decreasing your x-axis, and if you're going up, you are decreasing your y-axis. So I think I just have to get the basically halved height and width, and then sort of subtract that from my current ship's x and y value, and then that will make sure that our camera is always tracking our ship. So I think that should work. So let's see. Get the camera offset. So we're going to do var xx. No, we're going to do var. I'm going to do CW and CH for camera width and camera height. I'm going to do XX and YY for the new updated XY coordinates. So CW is going to equal, let's see, camera get, does that, camera get view width. And then we're going to do view camera. And we're just going to use 0 because that's already created. We already have that set in our room. We already have the dimensions set, so we should be able to use that there. So if I copy this and just set this to CH, and we should be able to do height. We can. So that gives us that, and we also want to make sure that we have this. So we'll divide it by 2. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to say XX equals my current X minus whatever the width is. And then YY is going to equal my current Y minus whatever the camera, the offset is. So get the camera offset. Let's see. Set the new camera position based on our own. So I'm going to move this down here because this is what we're doing. Height, width, halved. Set the new camera, or we're going to determine the new camera position based on our own. And we're going to set the camera position. So to do that, I think it's camera set, I assume. Camera set view position. So we're going to do view camera 0. And the position that we're going to set it to is our new XX and YY. So if we save this and run it, I think this should work. So it's following our ship, and we're going beyond the borders of the room, but now our draw functions are really weird. So this is fun. Let's head back down. That's going to be fun to figure out. Okay. So I wonder if that's just because there's no background. Okay, well, we've got camera working. It's following our ship. Now we need to handle the background, because I think that when we fly off the edge of the screen, there's no background, so GameMaker handles drawing it really weird. So since we're setting our camera position, I wonder if we can also just manually set our background position too. So that would also let us move it incrementally slower. So to make that system work, what I think we would have to do is, you know, we would get this offset here, similar to how we're doing with the view camera, but instead we're going to do it with the background. And I think when we do our calculation to basically set the new value, to make sure that we're slowly moving it, I also want to add a secondary offset to it, which will be like a reduced number, like a fraction, a decimal, a percentage, something of like the actual total distance away we are away from the center we are. So let's try that. Set background position. Now I think GameMaker gives us some functions to handle background. GMS2 manually control background. So it looks like it's pointing to background layers. So the GameMaker room editor allows you to add backgrounds using layers. As the name implied, a background layer is simply a sprite asset. So I can add 2 layers. You know, one for my very far back, which is the one that's, you know, the space background that we're using now. And also I want to have one that's kind of semi-transparent that can move at a different rate. So that will give it like a more in-depth feel. So let's go to our room, and I'm going to add another create new background layer. I'm going to move this to be in front of the regular background. So I'm going to rename this layer to background to near background. And I'm going to rename this one to be far background. And so, like, if we just take this sprite that I made, generated background. So I made like this T1. So this is like a semi-transparent one. You can see it's kind of laid over here. It's not very big, but I don't think it has to be. So it's not very big right now, but I think we doesn't necessarily need to be right now. And I also think for our background here, I don't think we're going to want to stretch it. At least not here. We can control that with code. So let's go back to our, so we've got near background, far background. Okay. So I'm just going to put near background, far background, because I think I'm going to need to reference those. So I'm just remove this scratch pad stuff. There we go. Scarch. There we go. So set background position. So GameMaker does give us some things to handle background. So layer background. So we'll first probably want to see that the background exists. So what we're going to do here is we're going to use layer get ID to get the name of the layer first. And then we're going to make sure that the background exists by that ID. Cool. All right, so what we want to do is get the layers that we want to manage. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do var. I'm going to do NB and FB for near background, far background. So NB is going to equal, what was it? What was that code? Layer get ID, layer name, and the name that we wanted to use was near background. And then FB is going to equal layer get ID, and we're going to do far background. Okay, so now we've got the IDs. So background layers, so layer background. So we can actually determine what our background is with, we can set our background. Interesting. So we should already have a background sprite defined. So I don't think we're going to need to worry about that. But what we do want to do is that I do want to make it bigger. So we have this layer background X scale, Y scale, which this can be used to set the scale. So what I think we're going to do is scale up our backgrounds how we want them. So I think what we're going to do here is we're going to do layer background. And where is X scale? Here it is. And what did this need? It needed the background and the element ID. So background X scale. Yeah. Oh, this is get X scale. I don't want to get. I want to just set. So this, if we look down here at the bottom of our code window, it tells us what we need. So for our far background, it's already like 1024 by 1024. So I'm just going to scale that by 2. So I'm going to set the far background to have a X scale of 2. And I'm also going to do the same thing for the Y axis. So we're going to do Y. So we're going to say far background is 1024 by 1024. Scale it up to 2048 by 2048. Okay. Now for the near background, because we're probably going to be moving that background amount around twice as fast, it should probably be even bigger, which is going to be fun. So, near background is 512 by 512. Scale it up even more. So for this, I'm just going to copy these and I'm going to change this to NB, NB, and I'm going to set this to 4. Just for now. It's probably going to look gross and ugly, but whatever. Okay. So then, now that we've got that set, what does this look like right now? Doesn't look any different. It looks pretty gross. Yeah, that's weird. So we're scaling it up, but it's not doing anything really. At least it's not showing on the screen. Oh, you give the background the element ID, which you get when you create a background element using layer background create. Or when you use the function layer background get ID. So right now I'm using like layer get ID. I need layer background get ID. So what does this function do? Oh, okay. So this takes the, I gotcha. So there's two parts to this. We have the layer, which holds the background, and we're not trying to modify the scale of the layer. We're trying to modify the scale of the background. So we have to get that programmatically here. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to change these to NL and FL, and I'm also going to set NB and FB here as well. And we're going to do NL, FL for near layer, far layer, and then get the background sprites we want to manage. So then what we're going to do is NB is going to equal layer. I can't type today. Layer. Background get ID. And the layer ID is going to be NL. And then for FL, the layer background get ID is going to be FL. Okay, cool. So we've got that. Now, if we save this, I wonder if this looks any different. Ooh, FB not set before reading it. Oh, I forgot to do this. There we go. FB, save. There we go. Okay, so now our backgrounds are scaled bigger, which doesn't look too bad. Doesn't look necessarily great, but doesn't look bad, which is fine. So, okay, we have backgrounds. We're able to manipulate them. Now we need to control the position. So, control the position of the backgrounds. So, I wonder if we have to do that by background or by layer. So, let's go back to... let's go to background layers. So, layer... So, we're able to get everything. We're able to set the index, whether it's stretched. Oh, here we go. No, if you want to set background position, you need to use the following layer function. So, layer X... Cool. So we are moving the layer. Gotcha. So we got to figure this out. So what I think we're going to do here actually is I'm going to move a lot of this stuff to the create event, because this can be a very expensive operation to keep running this every step. Whereas I only think we need to do this background control variables. So what we can do here is that if we just get rid of these, so if I just get rid of that var, what that does is this sets this as instance variables, which means I can access them from the end step event. They're not just local scope variables like these are that are pretty much cleaned up by the garbage collector by GameMaker once this event ends. So we're setting near layer, far layer, all that's good. I kind of want to set these to be, since they're not local variables, since they're not like just one-off variables, I want these to be more descriptive in the names. So what I'll do is I'll set those here, not far background. And I'll just do a search. Let's minimize this so we can see. So I want to replace with near layer. So we have NL. I think we've only got one, so we'll replace it. I don't know why I put a space in front of it, but whatever. And then what we want to do is FL is going to be far layer. So we only have one. So, okay, that was kind of a stupid control F, but whatever. We did it. And then NB, FB. I'm just going to do it manually really quick. And then near background. Okay, cool. So we've got that stuff set. Cool. Now what I can do here is that, you know, I don't expect our camera width and stuff to change a lot either. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to copy this out, and I'm going to put this here in this create event as well. So I'm going to say cam offset, I'm gonna say X, and I'm gonna name this one cam offset Y. Okay, save that, and then in the end step event here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get rid of this, and I'm going to get rid of these, and I'm going to update this to cam offset X, cam offset Y. That way we're not calculating that same thing over and over again every step 60 times a second. That seems like a useless operation. So I do those calculations of the things that aren't going to change. So I'm not going to be like changing my camera at all, really, except only where it's being placed. But as far as like the dimensions of the camera, I'm not going to mess with that. So I'm going to just calculate that once in my create event and call that good. So cool. Awesome sauce. Sweet. So we got that set. Awesome. Now set background position. So we did all this stuff here. Now we just need to go back here to, I think it was layer X is the function. And we're going to set our near background position. So I'm going to do near layer. I'm going to put layer position here. So near layer, and then the new position that it needs to be, this is what we have to calculate. So calculate where the layer should be. So what I'm thinking is that we can also do more variables here. So determine the base offset of the layer background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say near offset X. I'm going to say base offsets is going to equal layer background get does it have a width and height? You know what, it doesn't matter, because right now I'm just manually upscaling these to 2048, so I know that half of that is 1024. So if I need to dynamically get that later, I can. But what I'm going to just do now is I'm just going to set this to just 1024. To do dynamically calculate these based on sprite. So I'm going to do near offset Y 1024. So everything is pretty much going to be 1024 because that's what we've got. So I'm going to just do far and far, change this to X, and I'm going to move this comment to just right here. Okay, so we're determining these, save. And then, so what our calculation is going to be is that I'm thinking it'll be whatever our ship X is, and then we're going to add, you know, whatever we're going to subtract the base offset from that position, and then we're going to add whatever the calculated offset is. So I was going to have that secondary offset that determines, like, you know, how far away my ship is from the center of the screen. So that's how it's going to be. So formula is going to be, you know, I'm just going to make it happen, and then I'll comment it and document it after. So we're going to need to calculate some variables. So var, I'm going to do, let's see, we're already using XX and YY up here, but we're done with those variables. So technically I can reuse those and set those to a different value. So I don't need to declare more here. But what I do want to do is I do want to declare OX, OY for offset X and Y. And we're going to reuse our previous XX and YY, as we no longer need those for camera position. And we're going to say XX equals my x minus near offset x, and we're going to add a calculation that we're going to do, which is going to be like a basically how far away we are, except it's going to be like a percentage of sorts, like a decimal. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, I'm going to say, I'm going to make a var called dist. How far away are we from the center of the room? And this dist is going to equal point distance, our own x, our own y, and then what we're going to do is we're going to do room width minus 2, or not minus 2, but divided by 2, room height divided by 2. So what that's doing is that in our room, you know, we have the height and width, so we're having that, and we're setting those values to like this x and y here. So this will be like the center of the room, and it's getting the length from wherever our current ship position is. So if I'm right here, it'll calculate that distance there. So that should work fine. And then calculate offset. We're going to calculate new position based on offsets. So what we're going to do is it's going to be, what's the ratio that I want? So like if I move, you know, 20 pixels, I want my near background to move maybe 1 pixel, and maybe my far background to move 0.5 pixels. I think that might work. So we can rig something like that up. So all we're going to do is we're just going to take our distance and we're going to times that by like whatever percentage we want it to be. So for example, I'm going to say point, so this is for near. I'm going to say 0.05. So say if my distance is like 500, if I times that by 0.05, it gives me 25. So that should make it move just slightly. And then we might be able to even bump that up to just 0.1, but I'm going to try that here. And we're going to do the same for the y, not 7, y, thank you. Equals y and yy, there we go. Okay, calculate new position based on offsets. Set the new position, XX. And then we're going to do layer y. So we're going to do layer y, and we're going to set that to be our calculated y value. So then we're also going to do the same thing for our, now we do the same thing for the far background. So again, reusing XX and YY, since we're done with those in previous operations. Okay, so we can just basically copy this, copy, paste, and what we're going to do is we're going to change this to far offset, and we're going to change this to far layer, and then I'm going to change this to like 0.25, I don't know. And oh, I guess we didn't need OX and OY, so whatever. So let's just get rid of this. We'll put a var in front of this. There you go. Save. I have no idea if this is going to work or not. It kind of does. And we're definitely away from the edge of the room. You can kind of... It's moving like really slow though, so it's kind of hard to tell. So maybe we might want to speed that up just a little bit. So maybe we can do 0.1 and then change this to 0.5. Save. Let's see if that works any better. It kind of looks like we're going the wrong way, though. Like the background's going the wrong direction. Hey everybody, Editor Axe Wizard here. Just letting you know I cut out like 45 minutes of this video because it's mostly just me rambling on, having incoherent thoughts. I get so wrapped up in trying to figure it out that I don't even voice what I'm thinking. So it's not even a good viewing experience to follow along with. So I just cut out a lot of it and you get to see the result at the end and then we get to fix it in the next episode. So woo. Oh, order of operations, dude. I'm an idiot. PEMDAS, everybody. Parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, order of operations. Now this should work, I think. Are you kidding me? Holy cow, that's going to be fun to edit. It's kind of working though. The only complaint I have is that it almost looks like that the foreground is actually farther back. And now we're going like forwards and stuff again though. So it's still moving like the wrong direction. What I am going to do is draw arrow back to center of the room. Okay. So what we are going to do here is we're going to draw line, and we're going to draw R on X, R on Y. I don't know if I want to draw it that far though, you know? Whatever, we're going to... I'm so done with this project already. Not this whole project, but just getting the background to work. Like, this is way harder than I thought it was going to be. So let's just draw a line, see where we are from the center, right? Okay, so this will always lead us back to the center of the room. Okay. So as we're going like forward, the background is moving like the wrong way. So do we need to actually subtract this? I'm just trying it out. See what happens. Save. See what happens. Does it work? That seems to work. Now how far does it let us go? So we reach the end pretty quick. So much for endless space. I think I just need to suck it up and find like a tiled space background that would actually work. So what I think I could do is maybe I could do a tiled space background and then like this foreground here might only be visible if if you're like inside the room, like the solar system, but then just have the regular other background be around. I don't know. But this looks weird. So it kind of works though. It kind of works. So just for funsies, let's increase the view size, because I think it's like super small, I think, though, right? Yeah, it's like a super small window now. So if we go back into our room and we change this to, I'm gonna say 1920 by 1080, and we change our viewport also to 1920 by 1080. I want those to be a 1-to-1 ratio, and we save this. Does this make things better or worse? Okay, it's a little better. I still got to figure out how I'm going to handle the endless background problem, though. Because if I make the backgrounds move any slower, it's going to feel like you're just not moving. So I need to figure that out for sure. But, you know, we've got a ship that moves around and I can go fight other ships. And it looks cool. I don't know. I'm not happy with it. I feel like I just got defeated this episode. But I think I'm going to have to just sleep on it, I guess. Yeah. So that's interesting. Okay, last thing I'm going to do really quick here. Create new placeholder sprite. SPR, placeholder, center arrow. Edit image. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a nice pretty arrow. That's not what I wanted to use. That's not it either. Boom. And then we'll just dye this. There you go. Save. We'll set it to middle left. Actually, no, what we're going to do, we're just going to make this, I'm going to resize the image. I'm going to make it like 256. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit the image. And I'm just going to move it to the end here. Save. So this is obviously a dirty way of doing the sprite, but whatevs. And what we're going to do here is draw sprite extended SPR placeholder center arrow 0 my X my Y scale 1 Y scale 1 rotation is going to be point direction. You know what we're going to do? I'm just going to do var dir equals, and I'm going to do this point direction. Point direction, our own X, our own Y, and I'm going to set it to point towards the center of the room. Get rid of that. So we'll do dir. We'll just do C white for the color, and then alpha 1. There you go. So save. Now if I run this, we have an arrow pointing to the center of the room, and we can kind of move around. The background kind of works, but not not nearly as much as I want it to. So I think I'm going to have to come up with some sort of tiled background that I can use to make this work. Because what I've got working right now is not working at all. Not one bit. So that's fun. But the good news is, like, once I figure out tiled background, make that work, then it'll be so much easier to, then I can just set something called like layer or like background speed or something. So we go to the manual, background speed, by layer properties, not what I want, layer background speed. That's not what I want either. Holy crap. What I'm trying to say is that we can just go here, we can set this horizontal speed or vertical speed, and we can set that based on like a, you know, a fraction of what our speed is. So that's all we're going to have to do. So I just have to get a tileable space background figured out, and then all this stuff will go away. So I'm not done yet. I've been recording for well over an hour, and I'm still not done yet. So I'm going to put big old fatty to do over here. To do, fix this whole mess. Yeah. Fun. I guess I can get rid of this because it's not even being used, so that's cool. Anyway. So I guess next episode is going to be me figuring out how to make a background work to be tiled, and then I should be able to fix this and make it work easy. I should have just done this at the start, but hey, you learned stuff. So this is a good lesson on what not to do. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next episode.